Дякую.
Через кілька хвилин я надам слово Роберту Лещинському, але перед цим я хочу дещо сказати. Після моєї доповіді на чудовій конференції «Візуальність» у Вільнюсі пан Роберт задав мені запитання, як філософія освіти ставиться до використання штучного інтелекту у навчальному процесі. Текстуально я зрозуміла, що запитання було до мене. І поки я збирала докупи потрібні мені англійські слова, наші колеги радо підхопили дискусію цієї теми, і ми тільки з Робертом обмінялися поглядами, і я зрозуміла, що він хотів запитати це мене, а я мала відповісти. Тож зараз ми маємо такий шанс завершити розмову про штучний інтелект, про екзистенційний інтелект, і штучний інтелект у контексті освіти. Тому я запрошую від групи вільнюських дослідників ASAKAVIČIØTÐ Вайди, VALANTINAIT<hesitation> Ілони, SEDEREVIČIØTÐ Živilė, Валатки Вітаса. Доповідачем виступає Лещинський Роберт. Будь ласка, містер Роберт is invited to speak.
Thank you, пані Галино. Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's a great pleasure and privilege for me to speak here. Just one question before we start. Can you see the slides?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's okay?
We see it.
Okay, very good then. I will try to be as brief as possible because I hope we have a chance to speak about this again later in the questions and answer sessions. Colleagues, I understood 95% of what the previous speaker said and absolutely everything Galina said. So please, if you have questions, you can interrupt me at any point. You can also ask questions in Ukrainian after I finish with the presentation. It's likely I'm going to respond in English, and I hope this works for us. Okay, so good morning. It's still morning in where I am, which is not in Lithuania actually, but in Poland today. Or is it? Let's see. Well, yeah, still technically morning, still before noon. Thank you for giving me this chance to speak here today. And I would, however, like to start a little bit off the topic, not directly with the topic, if I may. And we all know in Lithuania also, and I hope in Europe, that every day Ukraine is tormented by the terrorist Russian state. So going back to the previous speaker, the narratives and the questions that followed, the Russian narratives are well known, at least in the Baltic states, but there is a critical mass of people, I hope, who are able to distinguish between the fake narratives and the real ones. So in particular, I would like to express my deepest sympathies because of the one of the most recent terror attacks in Ternopil city, which really exacted a terrible toll on the people of this city. A lot of people dead, children dead. I would like to say that Lithuania is always stands with Ukraine. We try to support Ukraine with all the means we can. And as always, I wish you strength. And you know, when you see someone, you say stay safe. So for you, it's my permanent wish so that you stay safe. And that concludes my introductory talk. So today's presentation that I'm going to deliver is really a collaboration, as you can see from the number of authors, a collaboration among many scholars with very different academic backgrounds. And because of this difference in backgrounds, these diverse backgrounds, I will try to speak on a larger scale on this topic. So if you were able to read the abstract that we have submitted, I want to tell you that I will diverge a little from this aspect, and I will start with the sociocultural, psychological really, perspective on AI in education, and then move towards the view from the existential philosophy perspective. And I want to say upfront, I will not try to artificially somehow merge these theoretical frameworks, because even not being a philosopher by education, I know that those are very, very different. So no artificial sort of molding into a single concept. Instead, I will just try to use these different complementary perspectives and these two different traditions to show how human development is different from different angles, and how artificial intelligence is not only a possibility and should not be only seen as a possibility, but also a threat, in a sense, a risk, right? So a threat is a stronger word. I'd use a threat. So my aim today is to view the challenges of artificial intelligence, mostly challenges, mentioning the opportunities, through this complementary lenses. So through the socio-cultural understanding of development inspired by Vygotsky, and existential perspectives on meaning, agency, and responsibility. But let me begin a little with a bit of a historical context on the technological process. So if we simplify the phenomenon of industrial revolutions, as in my opinion, Schwab has, throughout history, every industrial revolution has changed what human beings do. So take steam power, electricity, with the subsequent computerization, all extended human, and they all extended this human physical and mental capacities. They extended them through augmentation, as in supplementing. However, the situation is slightly different now. So in this fourth industrial revolution, and I know some authors count as many as 7, let's say, but we shall stick to this taxonomy. So in this fourth industrial revolution, which is really driven by artificial intelligence, by automation and smart systems, the question is no longer of transforming work. We see that systems are beginning to transform thinking, so they tend to emulate some cognitive process which has influence on us, the users. They aim to transform creativity, interpretation, and even decision-making. The whole, if you take rule-based systems, the whole idea was decision-making, but it was based on a very particular set of rules, not so much with transformative models. Right? So this forces us to think not only about skills or knowledge that students get at universities, or capabilities, right, depending on the type of a course, or pupils get at school, but this forces us to think about generally human development. And traditionally, education was focused on teaching, either enhancing knowledge, teaching skills, or teaching capabilities. But I argue that the central question today is no longer how to teach skills. The central question today is how do we develop human beings in a world where machines can imitate cognition. They cannot think, they cannot reason, but they can imitate cognition. So if tools, where is the problem here? If tools like ChatGPT, for instance, can write, analyze, summarize, and reason, then the purpose of education must go deeper than that. It's no longer sufficient just to teach those skills. It must address the development, the consciousness, the development of various aspects, such as development of consciousness, of meaning, of identity, of autonomy. And to understand this development, I, who comes from educational research background, turned to Vygotsky. Now, Vygotsky distinguishes between three developmental levels. The actual development level, which is what students can do independently. The zone of proximal development. This is the most important layer, arguably, for education. This is what students can do with scaffolding, with the support through challenge, through dialogues, through support from the teaching staff or systems. And the potential development level. This is what students will be able to internalize, to perform alone sometime in the future. However, they cannot yet reach that level. So you cannot jump from the actual to the straight to the potential, right? Because this is where the development occurs. It's right here in the proximal development zone. Crucially, growth of a human being as a personality happens here in this zone. Now, this zone requires several things. Cognitive, among other, cognitive effort, some uncertainty, in the beginning of the process, confusion, then experimentation, then struggle, then support, and finally this social dialogue with the person who supports, with the teacher, let's say, right? And through this process, development occurs. Without entering this proximal development zone, learning becomes just mechanical, and it's a developmental collapse, really. So this brings us to the paradox of modern artificial intelligence tools. Imagine, take ChatGPT, for instance, which can deliver instant answer to questions. But at the same time, they remove cognitive tensions, and this very tension, this cognitive tension, is what Vygotsky himself said was necessary for development. And then learners no longer experience productive failures, for instance. They do not experience uncertainty, experimentation, reflection, or meaning making. Or at least in very, very rare cases they do. Usually, if people have some experience of reflection prior to using artificial intelligence tools, then it's possible that they will experience reflection while using them as well. But if we think about very young learners, then it's a serious threat. And they may complete these tasks that are tied to learning, but they do not undergo this developmental process. And the tasks which were designed to evoke this cognitive struggle, they lose all their sense. So what AI does in this case is it collapses the proximal development zone, and it pushes students back to the actual development zone, at least where it seems that students are already masters of it. But this is all false and fake. When this cognitive struggle I mentioned previously disappears, the capacities that weaken are not merely academic. So there are greater challenges, and these challenges are really existential. So the challenge of losing agency, autonomy, critical judgment. So again, on the one hand, people might say that these kind of tools, they grant autonomy. Technological autonomy, for instance, right? So we are able to perform tasks that we were not able to perform autonomously previously. But it is really fake, because it does not develop the capacity to perform these tasks. It develops the capacity to emulate, and that's it. It's like similar to, if you had this experience, you have to go somewhere for the first time driving a car. And imagine if you use like Google Maps or Waze or any other app, and you don't pay attention to the road, only pay attention to the instructions on the screen, there is a very good chance that you will not be able to repeat the same road without the screen. The exact same situation happens with artificial intelligence tools. So, in this context, I would like to speak a bit about the emergence of the concept of existential intelligence, at least in the sense that we're using it. Maybe we're in our paper, we're referring to it more as existential capacities, but what we really mean is existential intelligence. So, in this context, Gardner's theory becomes extremely relevant, and Gardner defines intelligences as a biopsychological potential activated by cultural environments. Right, so this echoes what I previously said about the sociocultural psychology. However, in one of his later works in 2006, Gardner, I wrote here, identifies. Really, he does not identify, or I should rather say, Gardner does not define existential intelligence, but rather he discusses it. And you know that existential philosophers such as Kierkegaard and Heidegger and Sartre, they argue that human beings become themselves through confronting uncertainty, making decisions and taking responsibility for their actions. Now, if AI removes the struggle, the choice, the reflection, and the responsibility, it removes the conditions for becoming a self. So the collapse of the zone of proximal development we spoke previously, it's really the collapse of the existential learning process as well. In this context, Gardner's theory becomes extremely relevant, right? So he discusses certain aspects of existential intelligence. I cannot say that this is only Gardner, because we use the works of other researchers as well, but existential intelligence, according to our research, involves awareness of identity, search for purpose, responsibility for oneself and others. So you can see some of the works, and also I will be happy to share the papers if there is any interest in them. So importantly, these are exactly the capacities that are mentioned here that AI cannot imitate. And the over-automated, let's call it learning, although it's not exactly learning because it's emulation, it really diminishes these capacities. So here we can say that the context is more or less clear. AI can analyze patterns. We can agree to that, but it cannot understand the meaning. AI can generate text, but it cannot assume responsibility for the generated text. Sorry. AI can simulate reasoning, but it cannot really act ethically. AI can imitate intelligence as such, but it cannot be a self in an existential sense. And existential intelligence, therefore, becomes an essential counterbalance in education. And as Owen argues, existential capacities are essential for future labor markets because they cannot be automated, to continue my previous idea. So they rely on consciousness, freedom, moral agency, and meaning making, the exclusive domains of human being, something that AI cannot emulate. Thus, the more AI advances, the more existential intelligence becomes a critical future competence, we argue, both pedagogically and socially. I would like to suggest a few other insights from our paper. So our research highlights several key developments. So for instance, obviously AI is transforming all the areas of education. So this is the learning process with the relationship between the student and the teacher. Also the way we view like the epistemic views on knowledge, the way we view knowledge, the way we receive the knowledge from, let's say, LLMs, right? The large language models. At the same time, it introduces very serious risks, such as academic dishonesty. Well, the most practical one for someone who comes from education, knowledge reliability concerns, lack of human connection. And those are just a few that we have mentioned. We have distinguished more. So, few other final thoughts. So if we speak about this existential capacity or existential intelligence, we say that it supports autonomy, resilience, self-determined motivation, as well as meaning making and identity formation. All of these are very important, especially in education practice, because they let then students form, among other very valuable qualities, self-directedness in learning, right? And a few implications for higher education. So we argue that higher education must maintain holistic, value-based approach alongside introducing the technological, alongside the introduction of technological innovations. And we emphasize critical and creative thinking, ethical responsibility, identity formation, autonomy, and long-term meaning making as a core competencies of existential intelligence. And the very last concluding remark, as artificial intelligence transforms education, but existential intelligence still protects what makes education purely and uniquely human. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Роберт. Шановні учасники конференції, чи є запитання до пана Роберта?
I can see there are some questions in chat. Should I read them one by one, or will there be someone to help me with the questions? Okay, I can see the last one. Can a person maintain autonomy of thought when algorithms dictate every step? But in our paper, the exact argument we're making in favor of existential intelligence and existential education is to educate learners in a way that they do not need to rely on algorithms dictating every step of their lives. Because this way we lose agency, autonomy, freedom.
Пані Світлано, сподіваюся, Роберт відповів на ваше запитання.
I understand, thank you.
Thank you, Роберт.
Thank you very much. Once again, I appreciate the possibility to present here. Thank you.
Thank you.